Hello everyone, it's Dr. Barden here. Today I'm going to be going over pretty much all of the plugins that come in with Studio One 6. The way that this is going to work is that I have recorded a very simple MIDI progression and then just made some harmonizing noises with my voice over it, and then duplicated that a lot of times. And each one has a different effect placed on it. So what we're going to do is go through all of them, and I'm going to talk just real briefly about what the effect does, and you can hear it on its default setting, and then we're going to go in and just mess around with the settings for a little bit and get something that sounds just extreme. So it'll be, maybe massive reverb or super, super, super heavy compression or just other stuff that, might not be what you would really want to do in a real world setting, but it's fun to experiment with. This is not going to be an in-depth look at any of these effects. So if you're looking for, techniques for how to use them for something, or, like how this effect works in great detail, this is not the video for you. This is just serving as a quick little auditory demo for each audio effect that you can normally find in the Browse window here under Effects. I am sticking specifically to the ones that Presonus has, and the ones that are actively altering the sound. So things like the level meter, we're not going to look at because it's just displaying stuff. Things like that. So we're going to be focusing on items that are explicitly altering the sound. I've arranged them pretty much the same ways they appear by default in the browser window. They're just alphabetical by name. Any other plugins that you might have, if you don't have Studio One or other things like that, they're going to be very similar in terms of what they're doing. And that's a blanket statement there. There's tons of these effects, and there's definitely some very unique ones out there. But hopefully by this you'll have an idea of, oh, that's a reverb here, or oh, that's a lot of reverb applied to that. So you can kind of figure out what you might like in your projects. The way that this will work is that I am going to play the original one, and then we're going to just go kind of one at a time. Uh, we're going to then, for each one, tweak the settings, and then we are going to listen to the rather hectic, chaotic version of that same sound sample. So by the end of this, you're gonna hear me making boop 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 noises with my voice, and you're probably gonna hate it almost as much as I do. But again, it's for demo purposes. At the very end, I'll play through all of the hectic sounds from beginning to end, if you'd like that there. If future me remembers, I'll put little timestamps for each of these down below, but if not, I've color-coded everything so you can see with the playhead what effect we're on, and you can just find it in the mixer right down here. But hopefully future me is going to remember. We will see. Uh, all right, so let's get ready. Okay, so we're here in Studio One. This very first track is the unaltered one, is what I'm calling it. It does have some audio effects placed on it, but that's mostly just to tidy things up. Just for the sake of covering everything, I will play it without these and then with them, but just know that everything afterwards has these kind of as a base. It's just a little bit of equalizing and then a little bit of compression on the voice. So I'm just going to play this first one unaltered. And then I'll play it with the effects. So it makes the voice pop a little more. Helps rein in some of the frequencies on that piano synthesizer, just to make it sound a little bit nicer and a little more clear. Uh, so again, those are going to be the base for everything going forward. I've specifically done an audio track and a MIDI track just to show that you can place these effects on both. So again, with the MIDI, because all MIDI is a set of instructions for a synthesizer to generate tones, you can add in these effects, and I'm not sure exactly how it works under the hood, but it can either apply them after the tone has been generated by the synthesizer, or it can be altering the algorithms that are then output from the synthesizer. There's I can imagine those working in two different ways. Um, so the very first one we have here is going to be Ampire. An Ampire works to model an amp. So you'll usually see this on things like, well, guitars and other electronic instruments you would normally run through an amplifier. Um, there's several different models you can change up. They have a variety here. Um, Apparently, I've favorited this one at some point in the past. I don't remember doing that. But you can change it up. You can have it go through different cabinets, and you can actually change the various microphone setups. So you can specify how much of each microphone is in the mix, and they'll kind of keep them balanced between the various combinations that they have there. I like to use this a lot in. Let's just put this back on default. It was that one. Um, I like to use this a lot, again, for things that I'm plugging directly into my interface. Maybe I have, again, a guitar or a bass, but I don't have a full dedicated amp to it in that recording setting. We can just make one in the computer. It's also really good on MIDI guitars and things of that nature. So one of the ways I'll make an electric guitar without having an actual electric guitar and being great at that is to, again, make it all in the MIDI and then run it through this amp, and it sounds like an electric guitar. So we're just gonna, again, I'm playing all of these as is. I'm not saying that any of them are going to sound good. It's just, again, to show the difference. So um, I'll just turn off the loop and keep going. This is the default Ampire. So you hear there's a little bit more of a reverb tail happening. It's extremely crunchy and noisy, and that piano is even starting to me kind of sound more like a guitar strumming. Uh, that's just my take on it, though. So to really tweak it, there's not like a ton you can do in terms of like aggressive presets and all. What I'm meaning by that is it's hard to like take it to the maximum because each of these sound different, and it's not like it's on a scale of more to less. So in just for that, I'm gonna find some. Let's go with experimental. Trippy AC, and we'll call that the crazy one, and then I'll do the same thing over here, experimental trippy AC, and then we'll just replay the drastic one. You're probably gonna have this happen a few times, but you got a little sample of the next thing. So again, that one had some delays and equalizing chorus stuff going on in the bottom here. You can also add in effects, almost like pedals here, but I'm not hopping into the pedals because they're all versions of the effects that we're going to talk about here. Just you can load them into a pedal board situation. But you do have a lot of flexibility in the Ampire effect. Moving on to this yellow one, we have, if it'll pop up, there we go, analog delay. So what this will do is it will, well, delay the signal. By default, it's delaying at a rate of a dotted quarter note and feeding back the signal 25% every repetition. So every echo essentially is 25% of the volume of the previous one. By turning the time up, you'll increase the time between the delays. By turning the feedback up, you'll increase the number of delays. There's then a little bit of filtering and LFO type stuff to control various things and just give it a little bit of color and that analog aspect. So again, this is the default analog delay sound. So you heard it went on for a bit longer. There was, again, all of those echoes happening. Um, that one's pretty straightforward. There's, again, a handful of presets, but instead, we're just going to mess around. So you can actually unsync this, and instead of working in notes in the tempo of your track, you can specify a very specific amount. So right now it's set to 450 milliseconds. Let's just crank that up. We'll give it some more feedback. I'll speed up. No, we'll turn down the LFO, but turn up the amount. I want to hear a little more of it in the mix. We'll leave the rest the same. And just so we can hear the echoes and not get distracted by other stuff, I'm going to solo it this time. I realize I didn't change it on the piano part, and I'll change that as we go. But now you hear it's just going and going and going. We get the idea. We're gonna stop that. I'm gonna actually remove the old delay, and we'll just copy this one over for that. So that is, it's still going. All right. Again, you can very easily kind of blow something up with a feedback delay like that, but you can have it go and go and go for a while. Yeah, we're gonna remove that, and then I'm just gonna paste a new one. But let's just we'll pull it back just a little bit to right around 1 second, and only about 30%, just so when we play it later, that was about there. I don't want it to blow up and take over everything. It was starting to clip, and we don't like that. All right. Next, the green here is the AutoFilter. And a filter will let through certain frequencies and not others. The AutoFilter basically automatically does sweeps and changes and things of that nature. So you'll see that with an LFO here, it's going to be changing up aspects of the filter automatically. The low frequency oscillator is going to move through this pattern and change the filter. So let's just hear the default sound. So you heard that wow, wow, wow sound. That is the filter changing its resonance over time. So we're going to hop back to the beginning of these little 3 bars, and let's just see. They've got a lot of presets for this one. But again, I'm just going to start turning the knobs. So let's see, LFO. Let's turn off the sync. Let's speed it up. Little bit of everything. We'll decrease the resonance, increase the cutoff. Okay. We'll leave the filter types the same rather than having to explain all of that. And we'll turn up some drive there. Then we'll just copy this to the other one, and let's play it. You notice we're speeding through this a lot quicker. I actually don't like that. I didn't like that at all. So we're gonna just pick a preset just so we can experiment. There's a lot of different versions of it. And we'll copy you over and remove that one. Let's just collapse these so we can have a little more screen space. Actually, we'll get rid of that. We don't need that. I'll make sure that we're on this one right there for both of them. Okay, so now we'll play it, but we'll move on. So you heard in that case, it was filtering so much you couldn't make out any of the original stuff, and that's how certain audio effects in movies were made. I know R2D2, C3PO, and a lot of the droid sounds were with these and similar effects, just making again weird noises. I don't remember exactly which ones they were. If you do, put that in the comments down below. With exactly how they made those. I'm just talking today. The next one here is another delay. Again, I'm going in alphabetical order. With a beat delay, this will delay to the beat. So every quarter note with 40% there, no offset. It can do a little bit of color. It's pretty straightforward on a stereo channel. Oop, that's not a stereo. There we go. You can do some modulations, hopping back and forth between the different speakers that you're listening to. That's the main reason I like to use this one. So we're going to collapse you. So let's just play it as is. So that one was very subtle. Again, in this case, you're only getting 40% feedback, and the entire mix is only at 30 by default. That's fine. I'm going to play around a little bit. So we're going to increase the feedback in the mix, but not a ton. In the width, we'll go all the way. Ping pong, we will do that. And we'll speed it up. And then I'll just copy it over here. You won't hear the ping ponging, I think, in the voice because it's just one channel, but hopefully now we should hear some more drastic effects. It was more drastic in the piano there, but again, it's another delay. I don't use it very much unless I specifically want the ping ponging effect. This purple one here, I almost didn't put, but then decided to change my mind. This lets you take the panning and do some binaural panning. So, in short, what that means is it's effectively able to sound as if it's in a certain space. So if you're listening on headphones, you can put your sound in very specific locations because it's playing with the natural resonance of your skull. It's really cool. If you're listening on headphones, it might come through, but this one is very well on a mono channel. It doesn't do anything, but it's very limited in terms of presets. But you can specify how much width, where the panning is. Again, it's not. Oh, I barely use this one. There's other programs I would use. It's basically doesn't really do much. So I'll play it through. Again, it sounds the same. We're gonna make it wide, but I want to crank it up super wide. So now the width is 200%. So you might want to be listening to this part on headphones, For it to come through, I'm going to just, again, copying all of those, but because it's a mono channel, it's not going to do anything on this one. So actually, let's just get rid of that. So we're going to focus specifically on the piano, and to keep my computer from blowing up, we're going to just remove this extra track here because it's just going to be heard on the piano. And that's there. Hopefully that sounded interesting in your headphones. It did not sound interesting on my speakers. Um, Moving on to the purple, we have a BitCrusher. And what a BitCrusher does is it's a type of distortion, and it basically just takes the normal bit depth of the audio and crushes it down. So by default, it goes from the 16 bits of, it's standard, more or less, and drops it down to 8. And by doing this, it makes the noise a lot more distorted and you could say I would call lo-fi because we're removing some of the samples of the accuracy, but it can very, very quickly get extremely crunchy, which is a lot of fun. So we're gonna just play the default. So not a ton of difference, just it's very minimal. 8 bits is still decent enough to work with. Mix. So let's go nuts. So there's again some presets you can play around with, but I'm gonna just crank. I want to go that way. Crank this down to, let's say, 3 bits. A little bit of down sampling, and we'll give it some overdrive, but we'll clip it down a little bit so we don't blow anything up, and we won't affect the gain. You can also, I guess you can just only turn that on and off. I thought you could swap between them. We have that there, so let's just replace the old one and listen to a much more distorted version. I think that one's relatively straightforward. What's happening there? Hopping into this yellow channel, we have the channel strip. So channel strip is interesting. It is 3 or 4. Actually, this one is, I'll call it 3 with a volume adjustment at the end. Different effects combined into one. You may have seen some hardware like this called a channel strip. I've got 2 of them here. This microphone's running through one. But effectively, it just adds in a little bit of color and pre-processing to your signal before it gets recorded. In the case of the digital world, it's applying it again after the fact, but that's what it's trying to do. So it'll cut out some low rumble, do a little bit of compression, EQ, and I mean that's it. It's just 3 very simple effects. You see, I've got 2 of those here. You can, all kinds of debates about orders and stuff. I wanted to EQ before the compression, whatever. We're not getting into that today, but again, this is multiple effects in one. So by default, we'll just play it. It's not going to sound too drastically different. So we have it there. There's again a lot of presets there. So let's set it up for something we would use. So we'll set this one to male vocal 2, and you can see that it's doing more compression. The frequency is different, and we've got this equalizer curve. And then in this one, we'll swap it to piano, which does that again. These are all simplified versions of the actual effects that we're going to look at later. So now if we run this again. We're going to talk about compression later, but you can really hear the compression a lot more on that second effect. Here I have this greenish one, and this has a chorus effect loaded onto it. A chorus effect essentially delays a signal just a little bit and plays with the tuning or the phasing sometimes, in order to make one sound like multiple sounds. It's not going to be, a large change. This is like if you were in a choir with your buddy, and they're singing, you're singing. You're not going to come in at exactly the same point and be exactly 100% in tune every single time. So by changing them minusculely, it makes it basically fills out the sound, makes it sound like there's multiple instances of the same thing happening. So we'll listen to here on default. It comes through a lot in the vocals right there. I think it starts to sound a little robotic. But again, there's a handful of presets for this, a good amount to work with. Um, if I again, I'm just gonna crank this up. Let's put you on that one. Let's crank up the delay. The depth can stay there. Um, LFO speed, we'll speed it up, and we'll speed up the amount. Frequency will cut you low, and we'll boost that just for fun. And we'll swap the mode to doubler in 3 voices. Why not? And then I will just replace the old one. And now let's play it again. So I think that one actually sounded a little bit less metallic than the other, but again, it sounds like there's multiple instances going on. It's not the best sound file for that, but you can kind of hear what's happening. Uh, all right, a compressor. Compressor you're gonna find everywhere. These are very, very prevalent in modern music. So what happens is that when an audio signal enters the compressor, it's going to be monitoring the volume of that signal. When it gets above a threshold value, it is going to then reduce the audio volume coming out of the compressor. This will happen at a certain ratio. So, in this case, if a sound is 2 decibels over the threshold, you're only going to hear 1 decibel higher going out. And then you can specify degrees of like the knee, like you see how it's represented by this curve. I forgot what that was put to, so we're just gonna default it back. They're a little bit of a curve because it's all kind of visually represented for how the effect is happening. You can also control how quickly that compression starts and stops, and then you can even have it, we're not going to get into side chaining, but you can have it listen to other sounds and then affect, so it can listen to sound A but be affecting sound B. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do with that, but that's not what we're going to get into today. The gain, the makeup gain here, so if it's just compressing all the audio volumes down, it's going to get a lot quieter. But by taking the makeup gain, you can take all of that compressed audio and boost it up as a whole. And what this will do is it will make the loud sounds softer, as you might expect, but then it'll also make the quiet sounds louder. So if you take everything and compress it down and then boost it back up to the original, your loud sounds will still be where they started, but all the quiet sounds are now much louder. And this can help add some presence and punchiness to what's going on. So let's listen to the default one. So that one wasn't doing a whole lot. There is a little bit of compression on it already. But you can see this is the incoming volume and the outgoing volume. There's a little bit of reduction that happened, but it wasn't enough to see a graphic. So let's majorly compress it. I'm going to bring down that threshold, crank up the ratio. We'll make it start quickly and end after a while. We can boost the makeup gain a little bit, and then I'm on the voice, so we will just swap that over here and remove the other one. So now these are both going to be ultra compressed. So in that one, we'd probably want to raise the makeup gain even more. But you notice it got a lot quieter. That little yellow bar that dips down is showing you how much the compressor is lowering the volume. And you'll actually see that here and in the mixer. You can see there's some other compression stuff happening on these channels because of those effects. And that's what this little yellow bar is. Okay. De-Essers. So I hate this name, but it makes things very clear what's happening. I hate it because it adds a lot of sibilance to the sounds. Um, this is going to remove certain sounds, and it's called a de-esser because it's things like those kinds of sounds. It removes them from the signal, so it's got a very high filter there. It's reducing them in certain areas. I'm just gonna play it, and you'll hear it. So if you've got this particular, because I use do as a syllable, there's not a ton. But if you're recording speech, or your song again just has a lot of those noisy sounds, sticking this on there will help cut those out. For this one, I'm just gonna play with a preset. Let's go with stigmatism because I don't know exactly what that one will sound like, and we're experimenting. So then I'll remove the other one and line up to the bar. Yeah, I couldn't hear much of a difference myself, to be completely honest. But again, that's because that's not a wonderful sample for that. Give it a shot on your own if you're unsure. It's a very, very handy tool. Dual pan, we actually don't even need this track because it's a mono track for this effect. So again, I'm going to free up a little bit of RAM on my computer and get rid of that one. And we'll just focus on the keyboards for this. So this is, again, a more specific pan control. I almost never use it. At least for what I do, I can control the pan right here. But it can be very handy for, again, just looking at the presets. You can set things to mono, focus on only the left and rights, swapping, flipping channels back and forth. There is stuff that you can do. In this case, this one is just taking in a signal and sending it left and right. And you can change exactly how it does it. I'm just going to leave it here. There we are. And then just to experiment again, this is let's see. Let's swap. No, go away. Let's swap the channels here. So now you'll hear them in different sounds, or they're swapped. And there we go. Again, I don't use the panning tools very often, if at all, in Studio One. So we're gonna just kind of move along. This green one is the expander. So the quickest way to think about an expander is as the opposite of a compressor. It will take in an incoming signal and then make it louder. The same kind of thing is going on right there. They've got a lot of the same parameters. It's effectively just doing the opposite. Man, it's like they multiply the whole thing by -1. They don't. That's not what's going on, but that's, again, it's the opposite of a compressor is the short way of thinking about it. So I'm just going to play it. So again, that's just the default. Let's go into noise removal. I'm just seeing what options they have here. So we're getting a little bit of options. I'm gonna, again, let's just crank. Again, we'll keep that cranked up. We'll turn that down. Make the range. Let's make it take a second to start. And again, that'll sound interesting. There we go, and play. I think it's a lot less noticeable than a compressor, but again, this can expand out that dynamic range. So again, whereas a compressor makes the quiet sounds and the loud sounds closer, this will make them more drastic. So your quiet sounds will be really quiet compared to your really loud sounds. That's what's going on right there. Fat channel. This is another channel strip. There's actually 3 or 4 of them in Studio One. But this one's a little bit more flexible than the previous one that we looked at. So the channel strip had a few different things. So does this one. A filter here to remove a lot of the bass sounds, some compression, and an equalizer. This one also has a limiter at the very end. So you can kind of hop through. By default, it's doing nothing. It's like I'll just play it for now. Again, it's doing nothing by default. So for this one, I'm going to just look around. Let's go vintage. Why not? Oh, I see. So we have to turn them all on individually. I always forget that. And play around there. I'm gonna hop into classic comp because we're gonna look at the RC 500 later. And then this one, we're just gonna high pass there. Yeah, cool, and we'll turn on the limiter. Sure, why not? Under vintage EQ, I'm just gonna leave it for now. It's gonna sound more in just a moment. I'm just gonna remove the other one and play. So that's filtered out a little bit of noise. You can hear some compression. The equalizer, actually, now that I'm looking at it, I didn't actually change anything. So let's just do that. Why not? We'll make it really, really shiny. So by removing a lot of low sounds and boosting those. Okay, we'll play it one more time. So a lot of that low end is taken out compared to the next one. All right, we're almost halfway there. There's a lot of these. We have the flanger. I think the best way for me to describe a flanger is just to play it. So that's not a very drastic. None of the default ones are super drastic. But basically what this does is it's playing with some of the phase of what's going on, and it's kind of creating this. It's almost like it's blocking the microphone as you're talking. Ooh, I don't know how well that came through, but it's that kind of effect happening digitally. There's, again, you can use a lot on the guitar is where I usually see them, but it's an interesting effect. I'm, again, just going to completely wreck how this is meant to be. Why not? And I'm on the voice, so let's just replace that and play. So that one I tried to crank up so you can hear it. It sounds a little muffled, a little fuzzy, and then there's times when it comes back. I don't have a source for this. I'm just remembering it from a class I took a long time ago. But they say it's the effect was originally created by on a reel-to-reel tape machine by pressing on one of the little bars on the tape wheel, causing the tape to move a little bit as it was playing, and they happened to be pressing on a part called the flange. I have no idea who that was, if the story is even true. It's just a third-hand story I remember from a decade ago. But anyways, we're going to move along to a gate. So a gate essentially lets audio through or not. Again, it's another gain reduction tool. Um, and this can be used to, again, basically remove certain frequencies and volumes of sound. You can kind of smooth it out, and it's more like a filter. It's taking things out of the sound. So let's just play it. You saw I was kind of doing that there. So let's just crank that threshold down. We won't reduce the gain as much. We'll have it start quickly but release slowly. And yeah, let's just play with that gate. We're gonna do that. And we're gonna play it. Um, Again, I don't use gates a ton outside of like noise reduction and things. So let's actually play with some of that. Let's just go bad tape. I think bad tape will be a fun one. Bad tape, and just play that, and then we'll move on. You get a bonus one. Of course, again, it doesn't sound that drastic. This isn't a super loud or quiet sound, so there's not a lot of volume changing, but you can see that it is altering the volume of the sound. Moving on, though, because this is going to be a super long video regardless, we have the groove delay. So this is another delay, and instead of setting things up to a metrical beat or being more of an analog effect, you can delay these four beats here in a specific groove. So you can go in and specify, okay, where in this rhythm do I want the thing to repeat. So again, I could maybe shift it. This one will go back here. I can increase feedback if I wanted to. I can play with the panning for each of them, as well as any kind of swinging or dotted rhythm aspects. You can also apply a filter to each one as well. I'm going to put this back at, I think it was here. Or you know what, the easy thing to do is to hop back into here and just click on default again. And then just press play. Awesome. So hopefully you heard there was a little bit of a pause, and then it had more active delays, and the last one was a little bit quieter before everything repeated. I'm again gonna just totally break it. Again, there's not as many as I would think, but a good amount of presets. We're gonna put that one here. This one can live there. You can go here. You'll go there. We'll pan you all the way left and right. Why not? I'll tweak that this way. We'll go that way. Feedback will crank up a little bit. Filter will make one really high, one kind of low. Some resonance on all of them. And I'm honestly just kind of randomly moving things around. Cool, that'll sound interesting. Um, just copy that to the other one, and let's play it again. I'm going to solo those two, and here we go. So you can hear the echoes, and the echoes are super filtered as well. That actually didn't go on for as long as I thought it might, which is a cool bonus because sometimes, as we've already run into, they can just delay forever and ever and ever, and it's a pain in the butt to deal with. So let's hop along to the limiter. The limiter is a great tool. This will limit the upper volume of the sound. Boom, right there. So it effectively, it'll show the volume here, and it'll stop it from going past there. It won't let the sound get any louder. This can be very useful if your sounds are clipping a lot and you just need a quick response. You have something super loud. It can also be used to kind of push and pump some sounds, kind of like a compressor. There's a bunch of different uses for it. And I'm just gonna play it by default. That may not be there may not be a lot of drastic changes because these aren't clipping, but let's just, we'll go extreme gain. We'll do another preset here. Copy them and play. Luckily, YouTube compression will make that not be too drastic, but you notice it extremely increased the gain, so it went from not clipping to being at 39, which you don't normally want. So again, you can make things a lot louder or hard limit it to certain aspects. This less minty green sound here, and now into the Mixtool here on this kind of more neon green, doesn't have a whole lot going on in terms of the interface. The next two are very, very simplified tools that can be used for doing some basic implementations of the effects very quickly. Mixtool does a few things. I'll hover over here. It'll set levels to different amounts. It'll block some like currents and offsets there happening. It'll excuse me, swap channels, invert phases. But that's really it. So I'll play it, and then I'll pick a random one, and we'll kind of move along from there. But if you just need a real quick change to something, you can just drop in that, and boom, there you go. It's very simple on the interface, very, very straightforward to use. So we'll just listen to the default setting. We have that there, and then I'll just let's make this one minus 24, and we'll actually make this one different. Ooh, we're swapping things up. So on a stereo channel, there's a little bit more options there. Let's invert the right phase. Let's make it a little bit louder, not that much. And we won't play with the mid sides. We'll block a DC offset, though. Why not? So you saw, because we ducked this down so much, the voice was basically unheard compared to the keys. So again, it will do some very basic mixing tools very quickly, very easily for you. Mixverb is a similar thing, but with a reverb effect. So again, there's not a lot of settings. You can just boom, drop in a quick reverb, set it, how big do you want it, how wide do you want it, pretty much. That's it. There's a handful of presets, but it's a very simple effect compared to the other reverbs you might run into. I'm just gonna play it. not a ton of reverb, but there was some there. I don't think that one's super noticeable. So we're just gonna increase that. We're gonna decrease the damping, why not? And we're also gonna put more of it into the mix. And we're just gonna have a lot of reverb in our sound right now. And I'm just gonna play it. Um, so again, that's a very easy way to implement a reverb without having to dive into all of the various settings and algorithms and modeling and all that kind of thing you might run into with others. Moving on to the blue track here, we have Multiband Dynamics. This is very fun and very useful for a variety of mixing settings, but basically what this does is it takes the frequency spectrum of sound and divides it into 4 different bands for low, low mid, high, high mid, and highs. And you can then independently change the volume of each of those. The low band has a few different settings because you could stick some compression and filtering stuff in there. But by default, actually no, it does it swaps when you click. That's what's happening. But you can kind of see the various settings there. I'm not sure what the knob is representing, to be completely honest. Okay, it's the frequency of the range of that band. I see. If you can't tell, I use a different one when I need to do this. But let's just hear it. I don't know if we're changing the gain. We aren't, but there is a little bit of I think some compression happening here. So let's just play it. All right, so there we go. Now, because I've heard it a million times and I do that, I don't want to hear myself singing that anymore. So let's hop into the lows, and we're gonna cut that down, and the mids as well. I'm gonna just cut that down, and then just to be extra chaotic, we'll make the high frequencies a lot higher. We'll leave everything else the same, and I'll do that to the. Oh, not that one. There we are, to the piano as well, just to copy it, and we'll play. I'll play it one more time because I wanted to. I purposely cranked the bass up in the piano there so you could hear that it only rose the frequency volumes of anything below. Does it say low threshold? But pretty much it's all the low ends right there. If you heard, it kind of got a lot more bassier presence. So again, you can use this for very simple mixing, very simple EQ. It's very handy for, again, just ducking or raising certain parts of the sound without having to fine tune everything if you don't need to. All right, I'm just scrolling over. So now we're on to another reverb. Open air is a certain type of reverb called a convolution reverb, and I'm not going to dive into that, but it's basically using math to combine your sound with what reverb in another space sounds like to replicate that. I'm just, again, going to play it by default. I don't think it has anything loaded by default. So let's load one in. There's a bunch of different presets. I'll play one that's, like an actual reverb, and then we'll play around with the effect. We'll pick one of the effects. So let's pick a medium room. Let's go with a band rehearsal room. Why not? I've been in a lot of those before. So I'm just going to copy this over here, and we'll play it again. So again, it's a bit more boomy, but it's not super boomy going on right there. You can play around with some envelopes and processing as well to really, really fine tune your sound. But I want to pick something weird. What's one that sounds funky? I'm reading through all of them. There's a lot more under here than I really was aware of. Okay, so I don't know what or no, what the heck. We're gonna go with what the heck because I don't know what that's gonna sound like. But we're gonna go with it. What the heck? Let's copy that over and let's play it. What the heck? I wanted an effect. All right. Oh no, it's still on. Why is it still on band room? I wanted. What the heck? What the heck? I guess I'll just do it manually and swap to effects all the way at the bottom. What the heck? Because I was expecting it to be much longer. There we go. So again, a much more reverberant sound is generally what I was expecting, and for some reason it just didn't swap over the presets. Something got loud. Okay. Moving along, we are getting there. We're now in the P's of the alphabet. To phaser. So a phaser is going to take the audio signal and play with its, well, phase. If two things are in phase, they're gonna, like each other and work well. If something is completely out of phase, they're going to be fighting each other as you hear it. So when something is a little bit out of phase, it kind of sounds a little bit muffled in the microphone. If things are perfectly out of phase, they're actually going to cancel each other out. So this effect is kind of playing around with changing the phase at different times. So again, we're just going to listen to the default one real quick. So if you heard, it's kind of that sweeping effect. It's essentially taking the sound and it's again doing a little bit of those delays kinds of things we see in the flanger and the chorus, but instead of detuning it or doing other things, it's just changing the phase of that as it's sweeping through. So let's go nuts. I want a bunch of there. We're gonna speed it up. Why not? With a big range and a lower center, and we're gonna feed it back just a little bit more. And I'm gonna replace it so it's on both of them. And here we go. So if you heard that, it's kind of like the kind of effect in the background. That's the phaser. I think it could be a lot of fun. All right, the equalizer. Finally to the equalizer. By default, the equalizer does absolutely nothing, so I'm not going to play it because we've heard this so many times. But what it is it's a set of filters that let you boost or cut various frequencies. So I like to work graphically, but you can work with all the knobs. You thinking, okay, now we've boosted 514 hertz by 13 dB. And a thing I really like to do is make this super narrow with the Q frequency and just do a sweep over that, and you'll hear that the filters boosting certain frequencies and playing with others as we go. So I'm just going to play it like this, and then I'll go woo, 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 and then we'll leave it on a weird preset for the end of the video. Got that happening right there. So If you heard that that kind of sweeping effect, that was the EQ boosting a very specific frequency in the sound. So this is useful for, again, removing any problematic frequencies, any extra noise, adding color to the sound, essentially by emphasizing certain things. So for the end of the video, let's play with. I know this one looks weird, so we're going to do it even though we don't have an 808. I just like the way that this one looks. So each dot represents one of the knobs down below, and then it's kind of graphically showing you the average of all of them is this shape. So the sound is kind of fit into this shape outside of these lines. Here you can also make everything louder or softer after all of the effects have been done. So I'm just going to put that back at 0. And we'll just copy this over and we'll listen to it real quickly and then move along. So in this particular case, because it's meant for drums, it's cutting out a lot of that mid-frequency range where a lot of sounds normally live. So you could focus on the drum sounds themselves. So that's why, because we're not doing drums, it sounds like I'm in an old phone booth or an elevator somewhere and like it's half powered on. Okay, next we have the RC500. This one has a fun little interface too. This is another channel strip here. So it's got, again, a compressor, an equalizer, and a preamp. I've talked about these before, so we're just going to play it. So again, it's helping to add a little bit more analog color to everything that's going on. They've got a good amount of presets here. I don't know what Master Tub is, but I want it. So we're going to stick with Master Tub and play from there. All right, again, it's just a little bit of color. Personally, I think when you're using a channel strip right, you don't even notice that it's there. That's my personal take, so I'm fine with it not being super, prevalent. But again, it's just adding a little bit of texture to what's going on. It is kind of weird though that it's after a bunch of other stuff that's also in the channel strip, and the microphone is also going through one, so you're not going to hear a massive amount already. But definitely experiment. Moving along, we have the RedlightDist, which is a play on red light district, but it's also dist, short for distortion. And what this does in different ways, it distorts the audio. One common way is that distortion will raise the audio level up to where it's clipping and making noise, cut that off, and then bring it back down so that way you're not actually clipping. But this will, again, make a lot of noise and distortion, similar to the BitCrusher way back in the video. We're just doing it a little bit differently. So let's just listen to it. So by default, there's not a lot, but you may have heard, particularly on the doot-doot-doos part, it just sounded a little bit noisy, a little bit like something was weird there. There's not a ton here, but I really like the old radio to kind of illustrate some of what this can do. So I'm just gonna hop over there, and then we can potentially play around. But here's a little bit different distortion. So it sounds, well, like an old radio. But now let's just let's make it a little unnecessary. Yeah, why not? We'll also make it a bit louder. And then replace that and wasn't as drastic as I thought. I was honestly expecting more. Maybe I'm thinking of you. There we go. Must have picked a preset that either got the background of the computer angry or it just happened to have minimal distortion. But this is the kind of thing you tend to expect when you hear the word distortion. So again, it just adds a lot more noise. Ooh, I can't scroll in them anymore on here. We're almost there. Room reverb. So this is the third reverb that comes in Studio One, and this one is set up to model a room. Room reverb. Uh, I find this graphic very helpful. The little green dot is you, and the blue and red dots way over here are the sound sources. And you can change it up. So I'm going to just play it by default, and then we'll just mess with the settings. So we've heard reverb a few times, but it's going to model different spaces and different arrangements in order to change the various audio delays in the signal. Um, Open air is very useful and can be in very realistic sounding, but at least for me and trying to go quickly, dropping in room reverb, particularly on MIDI notes, for me is a great way to just get a very quick, not overpowering reverb sound. So with that being said, where is it? Where's the tunnel effect? There we go. Um, However, it can be quite a lot. I'm actually going to make this even worse. We're going to increase the length. I'm going to pull back some dampness. I'm going to increase the population. Why not? We're going to make it bigger like that. And a little asymmetrical. Why not? Again, this is basically modeling a big long tube, and it sounds weird. I like to play with those sometimes. And now, here we go. And it's just echoing down this long tube, going back and forth a ton. I don't know. I think they're fun. Let's just clear that solo and hop over into what's next? The Rotor. A Rotor is fun. You may have seen this. It's I think now that I've got the interface up, it's very clear what's going on. But let me just explain it anyway. Basically, what's happening is the sound is coming out of there, but it's spinning. This creates a bit of a tremolo speed going on here, a tremolo effect, and it helps add some more character to the sound, as if it's, again, the sound source is moving, and you can make it go fast or slow. There's one for the main part of the sound, one for the bass frequencies. We're just gonna play it, and you should hear what it sounds like. So I think it's most clear on the piano in this case. So let's just mute that and piano. So if you heard how the sound's a little more warbly, that's what's going on. This is a preset in a lot of different electronic piano sounds. And then they have a few, but I want all of the speed. Give me the speed. We'll also give it a little bit of coloring here. Why not? And we'll leave it like that. And I'll duplicate the rotors. And here we play. So again, having a lot of it can be a little distracting, but it can be a fun effect. And again, it's just modeling as if the sound is coming out of something that's spinning around, and it gives it that kind of warbly take to it. Here we have Tricomp, which is another compressor here. I mean, we've talked about compressors before. They're in all the channel strips. It's relatively straightforward, but you can specify frequencies and how it responds to those different frequencies. So it essentially will, do the compression stuff, but only to anything. In this case, between 360 and 32, 30, 3.2 thousand kilohertz. Uh, my brain is running out. Um, it'll only compress that range. So let's just play it. Um, so that's what's happening there. Let's see if there's. I don't know what lewd is, but we're gonna use some lewd compression real quick because that sounds exciting. Um, and now we play. So if you see, these knobs got turned down between the two, so now it's lowering that frequency, those lower sounds, so it loses a lot of that bass support and gets kind of fuzzy. Um, we'll leave it there, but again, presets are fun. It's basically just a compressor, but only on certain frequencies. All right, after Tricomp, now we've got Vocoder. And vocoders can be fun. They can make a lot of interesting sounds. I'm just going to play it first. Um, and maybe it was the vocoder that was doing some of those droids, but you can definitely make very robotic sounds. I'm not going to break down all of what a vocoder can do, but one of the things it can do is helpful for basically adding the different formants to your sound. So one way I've seen it would be like with a talk box, where you're playing the notes and that's telling the vocal. I may be missing that. I don't feel super confident now that I'm thinking about it. But here's a vocoder effect. I'll make a dedicated video about that, but it's used a lot for pitching stuff around too. But I'll make a dedicated video because now that I'm actually here, I'm a little less knowledgeable on vocoders than I would like. But again, this isn't a deep down dive into it. This is a here's what it sounds like, and here's what it sounds like when you mess with the settings. So here's a preset called Monster. So again, it's pitching things around and adding that kind of electronic timbre. Exactly how it's doing that, I need to do a little more research on myself. Okay, VT1 is another channel strip, but specifically modeling tubes. I'm just gonna play it. And then, you know what? Well, this time we'll just turn a bunch of knobs and see what happens. Not as much. No, all the compression. I don't want to bypass the comp. All right, cool. That's effectively messed everything up. So we're just gonna duplicate that and. All right, I destroyed the sound. All the compression, super quiet, cutting out a lot of frequencies. Again, we've heard many channel strips just in this video. The last one is X-Trem, which is, I believe, another tremolo effect. Let's just play it. I could not notice anything happening there. So let's just go with Gargle Master, because that sounds fun. Interesting. You can tell the ones I don't use a ton. Um, Interesting. So this is seeming like it's letting through certain sounds at certain points. Um, I guess it would be a tremolo. I just, like I said, I don't use this one very much either. So I'll tell you what, I'll make a dedicated like vocoder and X-Trem video if people want it. Um, but again, the purpose of this is just to show off a little bit of what they sound like and not deep dive into it. So I've been talking for a while, even before this video today. So we're going to call it here while I still have some semblance of brain functionality left. Um, but that is a lot of stuff going on here. So just to end this video, I'm going to play through all of them. Gonna do this. And then we'll just make them really tiny. I'm gonna need tinier. Minimal. Oh, okay. That's very tiny. But now we can see all of them on the screen. That's kind of my goal here. So we're gonna play through all of them. And that's going to be the end of the video. So if you enjoyed it, if you learned something, definitely like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. You know how it goes. It definitely helps out with the channel. Again, if you want to hear those few extra topics, definitely put that in the comments down below. Let me know if you have any questions about anything. And I'm going to play this and wrap it out. All right, that's all of them. If you listen through all the way, again, thanks. Maybe, tell me what your favorite one was. I think I liked the phaser the most, but that's just me. We're going to be wrapping it up now, so with all of that out of the way, I will see you all the next time that I see you. Bye.